Welcome, guys, to the How They Did It podcast. I'm here with Nicolas Hijazi. He has a Mendez Cartel. If you guys haven't seen his videos, he does amazing bulks and cuts. He's a natural lifter. He very much promotes natural lifting, and he really goes in and, like, especially now, it's kind of a controversial way. He bulks up, he gains a decent amount of body fat, leans down, he looks great, and we recently had the scientific snitch on. Him and the scientific snitch went a little bit back and forth on Instagram. I would love to hear his opinions on this, but Nick, thanks for coming on the podcast, brother.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. Cheers.
Perfect, man. So look, I'm gonna go straight into things. One, right before we go into the massive bulking and cutting, tell me a little bit about the Mendez Cartel. Tell me how you are as a coach. What's your philosophy? I know you guys have like a school community. Give me a little backing of how you train clients and.
Yeah, so I preach, natural bodybuilding. I've always preached that. Over my time training, really, my main kind of ethos and kind of purpose and value is just natural bodybuilding. So that's what I've always pushed, like the natural way, sometimes kind of comedically on Instagram. I've always pushed stay natural, stay natural. So I kind of like specialize in trying to build a great physique naturally. That's what I've always preached. That's kind of how my philosophy's built around is kind of natural bodybuilding, that way of life. And that's what the Mendez Cartel is really. It's kind of it's my community where kind of we try and get guys in the best natural shape possible. Um, we try and I have my certain philosophy around bulking, which we're going to touch upon. I have my certain philosophy around training. I think there's many philosophies that work. There's so many. There's guys that I look up to that are in elite shape naturally, and they all have different philosophies. I don't think there's one right philosophy, one wrong philosophy. I think there's so many different ways to get in good shape. Um, and yeah, I'm the founder of the Mendez Cartel. I call myself the president of the Natty Republic. I kind of joke around doing that.
Love it.
A little bit of a playoff on Trump. But yeah, I love natural bodybuilding. That's kind of what I've done. That's what I have a passion for. It's what I love to do. And yeah, I'm a one-to-one coach as well. The community is something separate. I also do like kind of premium one-to-one coaching on the side as well with other people. And yeah, that's kind of what I do. Kind of short based, just really. I'm a true ambassador of natural bodybuilding. I love it, and I love fitness. I love training, and it's kind of what I've been doing the last 7.5, 8 years.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. Yeah, and your physique is phenomenal. I really highly recommend people follow you on Instagram because you really take it through like a day to day process, so people can actually see like how you're looking over the time. And I find it very helpful to see people. And I tell my clients all the time. I try to be super honest with my own clients and show them like, hey, look, this is my physique right now. I'm trying to bulk. Maybe I put on a little bit more belly fat than normal, or even if for me personally, because I don't have these massive physique goals, sometimes it's just like, yeah, it's the summertime, I'm just enjoying myself. But I'll be honest, be like, look, I'm not putting in the effort. This is the result of I'm not putting in the effort in, or this is the result of me putting in a lot of effort in trying to eat these excess calories, trying to lift these heavier weights, trying to get these bigger body mass so I can build that muscle. So I think that's super helpful. What was your thought pattern when you first started out getting on social media? What were you thinking? Like, I'm just going to try to be as raw and natural. Like, you're obviously a funny guy. The Natty Republic's great. But, like, were you just like, I'm going to show people day to day and this is my stories and help them? What was your idea?
Well, I mean, if you look at social media in general, it's incredibly saturated, very, very saturated. Especially for the fitness industry, everyone has a social media account. There's millions of fitness accounts. So if you're just going on social media and you're just talking blandly about fitness, you're not gonna, unless you're like Chris Bumstead, unless you're the guy that already has a lot of social capital, you've won Olympias, unless you do something different, slightly controversial, something more kind of entertaining, comedic wise to gain a bit of engagement, it's going to be very, very hard for you to grow. So when if you look at my earlier posts, I was even more controversial than I was now. I was going way too hard. I didn't really have a style. And I think the first kind of year of me posting, I didn't get too much traction. I've only recently gained a decent amount of followers. So for me, you've got to find a way to create engagement because fitness is so boring. Ultimately it's all the same. It's all the same stuff. You lift the weight, you put it down, good form. It's all the same for everyone. So you've got to find a way to create a kind of unique, engaging style, which I try to do. I've failed in a lot of posts. If you look at a lot of my earlier posts, a lot of failures, a lot of trying new stuff, a lot of trial and error. I'm still failing in new posts. I try something new, it might not pop. You got to keep trying, you got to keep posting, you just got to stay consistent. I make sure I post a reel a day no matter what. Like as if someone has a gun to my head, I have to. You just got to stay consistent with the posting. Um, and then I try and use my own unique personality and weave it into the content while then unloading a bit of value. I think that's what I try to do.
Nick, just I'm curious, and you feel free if you don't want to answer it. But do you work outside of the online fitness, or are you just full time
Well,
working?
full time right now. Yeah.
That's fantastic, man. Congratulations. That's really great work. All right, well, I was just really into that personally, so I wanted to get your take. I do really find that you have an authentic take from the standpoint that you are coming at things slightly controversial. I don't know your earlier stuff, to be fair. I did see a video today when you were talking about power building when I was doing a little bit of research. Um, and I was wondering, how do you have any of your opinions changed? Like in that video, I remember you were saying that to build really strong, dense muscles and natty, you believe that using like a power building approach, which in paraphrase, Steelman, I'm trying to basically Steelman what you're saying here, but like that you need to like have at least one of the main lifts, and you could choose incline bench press. I think you did decide to choose incline bench press, but you have to get strong of those three lifts to build that dense, strong muscle as a natural. Is that an opinion you still hold today?
Absolutely, absolutely. My philosophy is kind of built off Michael Hearn. You know Michael Hearn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my his philosophy is pretty. I've pretty much stole his philosophy. For me, he's and we could. You might not agree with me here, but I think he's natural.
Okay. I have no. I actually am one of the
Yeah.
people that I just
A lot of people,
suggest I don't know.
a lot of people watching this are going to say you're crazy for saying that, but for me, he's the greatest. He's when it comes to like build like longevity and staying in great shape for decades. He's the best that's ever done it. So my philosophy is stolen from him. That power building philosophy. If you want to maximize muscle and to keep muscle over many years, you've got to stay strong. You've got to keep with that kind of low rep, heavy strength work for decades and decades. And that's how he's maintained his physique. You look at Michael Hearn, the guy's been inclining 405 plus for 40 years. I mean, and his physique's always, even as he's going on 60 now, the guy still looks, he's in world class shape. So for me, as a natural focus on strength, if you want to build more muscle, muscle is a byproduct of strength. The stronger you get, the more muscle you're going to build. Bearing in mind your form's good and it's standardized and it stays the same, and you're not cheating, you're not doing some powerlifter arch back and cheating the form and sumo deadlift and stuff like that. If your form is good and standardized and you're getting stronger, it's impossible you're not getting muscle. So the number one indication you're improving and you're gaining muscle as a natural athlete is if you're getting stronger. And for me, the best way to do that is by prioritizing the key compound lifts: the squat, the dead, the incline bench. I prefer incline over flat just because it works the upper chest, the most important part of the chest. And that by prioritizing those three lifts, having a kind of a mix of a powerlifting and bodybuilding approach, start with the heavy power, the powerlifting stuff, the squat, the dead, the incline bench to start the workout, that low rep heavy stuff, and then you unload more of the bodybuilding accessories with slightly higher volume and more kind of time under tension, hypertrophy work afterwards. So I combine both elements really.
So when you're doing it, are you doing like, let's say we're jumping on for the incline press? Are you hitting still like 3 to 5 reps? Or are you talking low rep work like 6 to 8? Like, what is your definition of the?
I try and get strong in a variety of rep ranges, but normally on the heavy compound, I could start on a heavy 5x5. And then or I could start on doing heavy triples. But normally it's kind of 5 reps or under really to start that first heavy compound to build that thickness and size. Sometimes I'll do higher rep work. Sometimes I'll do a burnout set where I do like 15 plus reps, or um, I'll put 3 plates on and try and go for 20 reps, or I'll try and do a burnout set after I've done that heavy work. But normally, yes, I kind of lower rep stuff to start off the workout, and then I kind of increase the reps in the accessory work.
I find it super interesting. I do something similar, not for the same reasoning as you. I generally lift the heavy weights for simple. I call it like spirit animal shit. Like I just enjoy to do it, like, and it makes
Mental
me
stuff.
want to go. It's a
Yeah,
mental.
yeah,
It's just a
yeah.
mental thing. I just once like I'm bored of just going to the gym sometimes and just going for my workout. I just want to hit 100 kilos in like the 3 to you know, the three, and now it's like the 10, but that used to be my goal, like 100 kilos for 3 reps, and it was 100 kilos for 5 reps, and 100 kilos for 10. And now it's like, well, now 100 kilos to go for 12 doesn't interest me super much. But try to go for like 120 for three, that sounds cool. And like that was like a new goal. I'll progress. And I've thought about this. I definitely gain muscle on an anecdotal level, even while I'm doing the triples and the lower rep work. And I talked with Stan Efren recently on the podcast, and he was talking about like, yeah, you're going to still build in those rep ranges. There might not be the optimal, he said, but you're definitely going to be building muscle. And I found that and I find it true. And I like now that I saw your video, that's why that video caught out to me because something I've been thinking about. Because I won't program my clients a lot like that because especially I'm doing a lot of online clients too. The in-person clients, maybe I could do it more. I'm there, so I feel more confident. But the online clients, because I'm not there to overwatch their form and stuff of that nature, I'm a little more cautious. Um, but yeah, that was super interesting to me. And now let's get on to the main event topic. Scientific Snitch, who I really like her account as well. She was on the podcast. She brought up that she doesn't believe that you have to be above maintenance, and her definition of maintenance is basically your total daily energy expenditure, adding like a pre and peri workout meal to that basically that extra calories you're getting in your pre and post workout meal keeps you at a maintenance because that is your maintenance. It's a little bit of semantics from the sense that it's complicated to rationalize. You have to go back and forth, but that's her claim. She has evidence pointing that you don't have to do that. Even if the argument is you just need a slight surplus and that it's actually a negative to be in an excessive bulk and add all this extra fat because you're adding this extra adipose tissue through fat hyperplasia, and that is not going to come out, and you're just going to be having to hypertrophy and shrink those fat cells. What is your rebuttal to this straight off the bat?
Well, first and foremost, I got nothing personal against this lady. I'm not too familiar with her content. She seems like a very nice woman.
Yeah.
On a personal level, I've got nothing against her. My philosophy differs wildly to hers. Um, as a natural, if you're claiming that you do not have to be in a caloric surplus to build muscle, you're absolutely nuts. You have to be in somewhat of a surplus. Maybe not as big as me, and I've said this many times. I said this I did a Greg Doucette. Greg Doucette called me out on a video about lean bulking, main gain. He's a big main gaining guy as well as a scientific snitch. They both called me out, and I said it in both these videos. You don't have to go as crazy as me in terms of the surplus. I take it. I'm nuts. I take it to a little. I go proper old school. Really push the food hard. You don't have to go as crazy as me. But this idea that you can be in maintenance or just above maintenance in a very very lean surplus, getting 1 pound a month of body weight as a natural and put on serious muscle, and that's the best way to do it. Completely disagree with that. Completely disagree. You have to gain a decent amount of muscle. Sorry, a decent amount of weight. Nothing, not crazy. Don't overdo the fat. I admit I take it too far sometimes. I take a real old school approach, but you have to gain a decent amount of weight to put on a decent amount of muscle as a natural. If let's say you're gaining a pound a month, that's 12 pounds in a year. How much of that's going to be muscle? How much of that can you actually guarantee to be muscle? If you gain 12 pounds, half of that's going to be water and glycogen to begin with. So that's then let's say out of that 12 pounds you gain 2 pounds of muscle. I'm, I mean it's you have to gain a decent amount of body weight. If you look at some of the elite naturals, guys like do you know Keefe West?
Yes.
Phenomenal natural, elite natural, one of the best in the game. He bulks hard as well in the off season. He puts on a decent amount of weight, really pushes his surplus high. And you look at him when he cuts down, he gains a huge amount of muscle, bulk to bulk, bulk to cut, bulk to cut. And he doesn't do this kind of like very lean, main gaining surplus. He pushes the food. He really pushes the food in the off season, goes hard, but at the same time trains incredibly hard, progressively overloads, really focuses on pushing the weight up in the gym as well, and getting strong and training with ridiculous intensity. And obviously in the off season he gains a bit of fat, but then when he cuts down and shreds down, he looks phenomenally, and you can see how much muscle he's gained. And another thing is, when you bulk as hard as I bulk, you increase your metabolic rate so high that I started my cut on 4,300 calories for the
Yeah.
first. my first 8 weeks of cutting, I could be on 40. I was on between 37 to 4,300 calories while losing 2 pounds a week. My metabolism was through the roof because I've been bulking on so many calories. I was on 6K calories. My metabolism was through the roof. So in the initial first 8 weeks of the cut, you can still actually gain muscle as you lose body fat because your calories are still at such a high place that you can actually still gain muscle even in the first 2, 3 months of the cut because your metabolic rate's through the roof. So for me, you've got to, and then again, this idea of there's a best way to bulk because, and this I thoroughly dislike this kind of optimal science study based approach where someone pulls up a study of 100 people that barely don't even go to the gym. A lot of the time, these people, if you look at the studies, dissect them, these people they're not even people that have consistently gone to the gym. They've got low gym experience. Someone runs a study of these beginners, and beginners respond to anything, and they use that study as kind of the basis of foundation of their knowledge, and they use it as this biblical rule for the entire fitness industry. If you actually dissect these studies and look at the people they're actually doing these studies on, they're very inaccurate. They're doing it on terrible personnel, and they don't make for very good studies. So for me, there's no best way to bulk. I'm not claiming my way is the best. There are naturals that do take more of a lean bulking approach that look phenomenal and build loads of muscle as well, and that really prioritize leanness in their off season, and they look great as well, and it works for them. My style, if you look at my results, it works for me. I've done this for the last 7 years, and it's worked for me. If you look at my cut physique, every single year I'm adding more muscle tissue. I'm bigger. Year to year to year, I'm bigger. So it's clearly working for me. And if you're someone that takes a leaner approach, that could work for you. But to the extent of like main gaining, really really lean, like do set lean approach, I don't believe in that. I'm not a fan of that. I think you should find a middle ground, and I said this, find a middle ground between me and do set and the scientific snitch, where you're not taking the piss when it's like £1 a month. Maybe go 2, 3 pounds a month. You don't have to go as much as me. Sometimes, I really go to a different level of weight gain. You don't have to go as much as me. Find more of a middle ground that works for you. But again, what works for me might not work for you, and what works for someone else might not work for me. So there's no best approach.
I agree with that. I think individualization, especially each human's different. I'm generally kind of curious about this because there was something that happened where she posted a picture of you between two of your cuts. That's kind of how I decided to bring you on the podcast because I thought that this was interesting. She posted a picture of between two of your cuts. The one cut you were. I checked that I had it right now written down, but the papers are all scrambled here. But you were probably like I think a 5 or 6 pound difference between those things.
No, no, it's a bigger difference. So I kind of got the weights wrong initially. I was one in that first picture. I was 160. I was high 160s,
Yeah.
169,
And then in the second picture where you were
high
larger,
180s.
high one. Okay, so huge difference. Uh, and she was saying that you weren't as lean in the second photograph. And I'm going to give you my opinion from the picture. One, it's a picture. This makes it super hard to judge. You're just
Yeah,
guesstimating, right?
yeah.
Measuring body fat is impossible even when you take tests. So definitely, you seemed maybe you were slightly leaner, but I still don't think that devalues the fact that you put on a massive amount of muscle. Like, I think both things were kind of true. You were a little less leaner in the second picture than the first picture, but there was still much more muscle in the second picture than the first picture. Do you agree with that? Are we on the same
Yeah.
page with this?
100%, 100%. And I addressed this in the scientific snitch response video. I said that yes, I'm a little bit leaner in my 2023 cut. I was a little bit leaner than my 2024 cut, but that's a 20 pound difference. So if you're accounting those 20 pounds purely for fat, you're crazy. Yes, I'm a little bit leaner in 2023 than I was in 2024, but there's a 20 pound difference there. And let's say that I've got 5 pounds more fat in the 2024 pick. I've still gained 15 pounds of lean muscle in a year, which for a natural is tremendous. Let's say I've got 7 pounds more fat. I've still gained, between 10 to 15 pounds of lean muscle in a year, which for a natural is a tremendous amount of muscle to gain in a
Ten
single
pounds
time.
is tremendous. To be fair,
Yeah,
10 pounds is tremendous. To be
yeah.
fair.
So Yes, I'm a little bit leaner, but the weight difference is so substantial that there's clearly been a lot of muscle gained.
So here's another thing I have. I've been having a lot of people on the podcast, and because this has been the subject of debate, I've been asking people their opinions on this. What's your How do you feel as far as now we know? Now it seems that having higher fat cells at some point in time in your body, some point in time in your history, can create higher hunger signalings. It seems that like the fat cells seem to have their own like mechanisms to create hunger signaling. Do you feel that on a personal anecdotal level that now that you've gained, you've gotten slightly over fat during your bulking seasons, has that affected your hunger signaling, how much you're eating, when you are cutting, how hard it is to cut, or maybe any of your clients if they're doing similar
Yep.
approach?
I mean, first 8 to 12 weeks, I'm currently week 8 of my cut. First 8 weeks, I've actually been force feeding. I've been struggling to get the food down.
Yeah.
It's that difficult. I'm still not hungry at all. First 8 weeks have been I've gone right now. I'm 219, 218, 219, down from two kind of 238, 240 ish kind of. So 20 pound difference. I'm still force feeding to get the food down. Still I'm on about 3,500 calories. Really struggling to eat because I'm not hungry. Do I find that I'm hungrier? Do I find that I'm hungrier on the cut because I've bulked up harder? I mean, I only get hungry the last kind of four weeks of the cut when you're in an extreme deficit, when you're in more of an extreme deficit. But I find that even when I've done leaner bulks as well, even when I've done slightly leaner bulks, I find that as well. I'm always hungry. Everyone who's not hungry at the end of a cut. I mean, yeah.
I
So
was saying if like I noticed. So one of the things that when this study, I read the study about the hunger signaling and how it affects people differently, and it seems that people that were obese or were overly fat in the past generally have a higher hunger signaling. I was obese as a kid. Like I was a teenager. I was like 16. I was about 265 pounds. I always in my fight career would be, when everyone else started the weight cut, like, so we had a group tournament and the tournament was getting close. Everyone started the diet at the same time. Around week 2, week 3, I was dreaming of cheeseburgers already. And it was like grinding my teeth, willpower from then till the weigh in. And for everyone else, that kind of only happened like the last week, some guys the week before last, but no, very few of the guys were on the same thing as me because most of the guys were athletes their whole lives before they got into the sport. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense why I was needed. That was so much extra willpower for me to do it. And that's why I was curious if, but were you bigger when you were older? Were you heavier when you were younger? Or were you
no,
always pretty sure?
I was skinny footballer. I was a footballer, so I'm not American football, real football.
Soccer. Yeah.
Yeah, the real version.
Yeah. The real version. I like
No, I was really skinny. I was actually a cross country runner as well, long distance runner as a
okay.
kid. So I was like because I'm 5'8", I'm 5'9" ish. So I was like kilo. I was like high 50 kilos, man. I was like 130, 140. I was tiny, little skinny, skin and bone, long distance runner, footballer. I've just very. I've always been kind of a skinnier build. I've always had a very high metabolism.
Yeah.
Which might be hard to believe because I gain a lot of weight, but I always have to force feed a bloody lot to get that food down. So, I've always come from a skinnier kind of slender frame kind of build.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, and it makes sense. I think that's why individualization is so important because I do realize that there's some clients that I've had that they come from being overweight, and to them, whenever they've lost the weight and then we have to bulk up, the bulk itself has to be controlled, or it can get way outlandish really quickly to the point that it's no longer a bulk. You're just eating junk food and you're not like really putting in the focus. Then the motivation goes out the window, yada yada. But what I do find that people that were when they were younger, they were leaner. It seems that you have to kind of force it on them because their natural hunger signaling isn't as high. It's kind of like they're on Mujaro from the beginning. Like they're not feeling like they need to go get the piece of cake at extra at nighttime or anything. You have to be like, hey man, you're like 600 calories away. We got to try to keep this consistent and push forward. So now that we're talking, I want to get into like your cut right now. You're saying that you were cutting at, which by the way, that's a soundbite in itself. You were cutting at like 3,700 calories, which is nuts at 5'9" you are. Uh, how's your cut right now? What's your goal? What's your predictions? How long are you going to be on the cut? Give me some details.
So yeah, my goal really is kind of, I think 20-ish weeks is kind of a good mark that I always set myself. 16, probably 20 weeks is kind of when I start to really get lean. But once I get under 200, that's when the detail really starts to come through. Last cut, I got up to about high 180s, maybe cut midish, maybe at the real end stage, kind of mid 180s. My goal is kind of get to 190, see how I'm looking, assess the physique. As soon as I start getting under 200, that's when I can really have a better understanding of kind of what weight I'm going to be to finish the cut. But I'd say that kind of 190, 200 range, probably around 190 mark to end the cut, while just trying to keep my food as high as possible for as long as possible. Not making reductions in my calories unless I have to. Like I said, first 8 weeks I was on 43 to 3,700 calories. I've just reduced my calories last week, this week, week 8, from 37 to 35, just to enter a little bit more of a deficit. But making small little decreases over time and just continuing the real heavy strength training, trying to stay as strong as possible to maximize muscle retention.
Are you feeling any kind of loss in strength now as you're going down in calories?
Of course, of course, always. I mean, I've lost a good chunk of body weight already. Of course, you lose strength. It's impossible. It's impossible not to lose some strength. I'm doing my absolute best to maintain strength. I haven't lost a tremendous amount of strength, but yes, I've lost strength. I'm not going to be as strong at 219 than I was at 238. Impossible. Yeah.
So I have a question. Do you do, because I'm curious about like, I do a lot of work with um, my clients that involves like health coaching. So we look at blood work to see how if they're being healthy, if they're metabolically healthy, so on and so forth. When you're on these big cuts, have you ever? I'm curious. Done any blood work? Like, where's your cholesterol at? Like, where's your uric acid at when you're getting into these heavy bulks? Is your blood? Do you checking your blood pressure? Are you checking any of these health markers? Or you feel I'm young and fit and I'm
To be honest, Tony, not really. I don't really check my health markers. I'm. This might sound a little cocky, but for me, the greatest preventer of the greatest protection of health on when you're bodybuilding is by staying natural. You by immediately not by being on anabolics and not being on any kind of drugs, you save yourself a lot of worry. So the fact that I'm natural is the greatest preventer of any kind of health fears. Even if you're natural, should you do blood work? Yes, I probably should do a little bit of blood work just to double check. Um, but I always say that the number for me, the fact that I'm natural is already the number one protector of kind of any kind of health worries in my eyes.
oh, you're completely not wrong about that. I think that you take a lot of the worries off of the table just by being natural. You're also young. The only reason I thought about it at all is because you are getting over fat for some portion of time. You're young, you're active, all these things, and it's only for a period of time, and then you're back down. Probably net total, no biggie. But that is something I would always be kind of curious. Also, just from like a pure curiosity. Like, I once, out of pure curiosity, did the carnivore diet because everybody told me how great it was anecdotally. I gave a lot of my arguments to why I don't believe that that's an optimum diet. I backed it with studies, and one of my friends like, you know what? You're saying a lot of cool stuff, but why don't you just try it? I bet you'll love it. And I was like, you know what? Fair play. I'll put my money where my mouth is. I did it for a month. No, I did it for 2 months. And I felt great, but my blood markers were bananas. Like my cholesterol was through the roof. My LDL especially was through the roof. My ApoB was still good, but higher range than it had ever been. I had high uric acid. That's never happened before to me. My blood pressure was a bit up, and I was like, oh, hold up a minute, wait a minute, what's going on? And that made me start being like, okay, you never know. Sometimes you feel good, but you don't know what's exactly going on. So that's one of the reasons why I was asking because I was curious because you do it like if you see the visual difference, like I might put one up on the podcast, like a picture of you from the cuts from the bulk. It is like you're talking to two different people. It honestly is. It's insane.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I think I could certainly be more. I could certainly do more due diligence and be slightly more cautious by checking those things. I certainly that's an area of improvement I can certainly embark upon is by doing more blood tests, especially peak bulk. I think when it gets, and I admit this, me peak bulk is not particularly healthy. And even natural bodybuilding, no form of bodybuilding, whether you're enhanced or natural, is particularly healthy. To be honest, when you're getting very lean, even if you're natural,
Yeah.
it's not the healthiest to be that body fat. You're
No.
destroying your testosterone production's going down. You feel like shit. It's not to get very lean, even as a natural, is unhealthy. But both sides of the game, obviously, it's far worse if you're on anabolics. But it's so no, whether you're natural or enhanced, I do agree. I think some type of blood work is very important. That's certainly something I could improve upon.
Yeah, I think it's something that's worth it to try. Now that you're still young, it's good, but as you get older, always worth it to double check on those things. I'm gonna give one more thing I want you to kind of rant on here. As far as somebody wants to start out, they're a natural lifter. They don't want to get on testosterone. Of course, there is a solid push from the world nowadays to take pharmaceuticals. There's different kinds of pharmaceuticals like testosterone. There's also stuff like Mounjaro, GLP-1 agonists, Ozempic, things of that nature. But somebody's like, I'm not going to do that. I want to go the the natural approach. They're starting out. What's like the first 10 things they should do? Is there any supplements that they should take? And how would you go about it? You got a brand new kid. He's 20 years old. He's starting his bodybuilding journey.
Yeah. First and foremost, everyone overcomplicates this game. Everyone body. This is so. This game is very simple. It's far more simplistic than most people think. It's about doing the basics well for a long period of time. It's about doing the simple things well for a long period of time. This game is simple, but it's hard. It's about nutrition is very simple. Master the fundamentals of nutrition. Okay, get in enough protein. I always say have a good foundation of meat in your diet, some good carbs, pasta, bread, rice. I eat a lot of rice and some healthy fats. It's nutrition is so simple. Prioritize good basic nutrition consistently. Stick on a consistent meal plan you can stick to, getting enough protein in, and then the same with training. Prioritize the basics, the heavy compounds. Master the heavy compounds. First of all, perfect your form on the squat, the dead, the incline bench, and then just begin progressively overloading slowly while keeping very good nutrition. This is not everyone over and in regards to supplementation, the only supplement that I say is compulsory is creatine. Everything else can help, but it's not necessary. Like omega fish oil, good to have. Is it 100% necessary? No. Magnesium 100% necessary? No. It's good to supplement it. It's not compulsory. The only natural supplement I say is 100% compulsory is creatine. Have creatine. It's the greatest natural supplement of all time. But in terms of what I would give to a beginner, all these beginners overcomplicate this game. They all come and they all say, "Oh, should I be on a carnivore? Should I be on a keto diet? Should I do this? How many meals should I have? What should my split be?" Just master the fundamentals and the basics of training, and get better at the basics. This is it's all about the simplicity of greatness. There is nothing special or genius or overly complicated about getting in shape. It's about doing the basics well for a long enough period of time. You look at Mike O'Hearn. He's been training the same way since the 80s as he does now. The exact same way, nothing's changed. You see the guy, he's doing incline bench for 40 years. He's been squatting for 40 years. His training style's not changed for 40 years. He's done the same stuff year after year, but he's mastered the basics. He's mastered the art of simplicity. And that's what the gym is. So my advice to any guy starting is just do the basics well. Stop trying to overcomplicate it. There's no special hack. There's no secret here. Good nutrition with good training. Every split works. What's the best split? Upper, lower, bro split, push pull legs, Arnold. What's the best? They all work. As long as you train with enough intensity and good form, every single split works. There's no best split. There's no best diet. Okay? Just master the basics. Get enough protein. Eat, get a decent amount of carbs. Do not run away from carbs either. Everyone thinks, oh, carbs are bad, carbs are bad. Without carbs, you can't have longevity. You need carbs for longevity. If you want to last a decent amount of time in this game, you need carbs. You need a decent amount of you need that energy source year in year out. You can't be, everyone's trying to cut their calories, maximize cardio. You need to spend a decent amount of time for someone young building muscle. Really focus on putting the muscle on first before you think about getting lean. Unless you're starting from a standpoint of really obese,
Yeah.
most guys are starting from kind of a skinny fat standpoint. Focus on building muscle first, really putting on that tissue, and then you can focus about having the six pack, the abs, and shredding down. But overall, Tony, just master the basics. There is nothing complicated about the gym and nutrition. It's very, very simple. But most people can't do the simple things well for long enough to get in shape.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's one of those things. I think on like, and even through our conversation here today, there's some things that maybe we differ on some slight nuances, but overall, the general principles of training are the same. You have to train with enough intensity. You have to eat proper nutrition, meaning you're eating your macros, and for your health, you should focus a little bit on your micronutrients, making sure that you're getting enough vitamins, so on and so forth. Most supplements are not necessary. Could help at times for things like you said, fish oils could help, especially if you're in a heavy cut and you're not getting enough fats. Get your protein, lift consistently, lift with intensity, and whether that is if you're doing a low volume approach, then you better lift with a lot of intensity. And if you're lifting the higher volume approach, maybe you could cut back just slightly on the intensity, but still very intense. And there's more than one way to skin a cat. All the
100%.
ways work. That's why we've had guys like Dorian Yates do it one way. You have guys like Arnold that did it another way. And there's a million other examples of guys that did it slightly differently, all getting fantastic, amazing weeks.
Yeah.
Um, well, listen, this has been fantastic. If anyone wants to check you out, Mendez Cartel, I'm gonna link your Instagram in the bio. It's been fantastic talking with you. Thank you for jumping on the podcast. Thanks for being open. Thanks for always being open and honest on your content too. I really enjoy it. I'm super excited to see how you look in this cut. I'm rooting for you to get upper 180s with abs.
Thank you. Thank you, man. Absolutely appreciate it, Tony. Lovely to speak to you, man. Yeah, brilliant. Really enjoyed it.
All right. Ciao.